Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Reika and today we are going to make this cute little butterfly with a flower. Before we start, I'd just like to ask you to hit like and subscribe to support my channel, and let's jump right into it. So I'm in a new startup file in Blender. You can see there's our light, our camera and the default cube. Here are my screencast keys so you can see what I'm pressing. And first of all, I'm going to select my light by clicking on it, shift select my camera, press M to move to new collection, call it cam and light, and just click on create. And here in the outliner, you can hide the camera and the light folder with this eye icon. The next thing I do is click on the default cube and delete it. So press X and click on delete. I'll go to front view with one on my numpad, press Shift A to add mesh, and I'll add the plane. I'll scale it down to around this size. Go to top view with numpad 7, press Ctrl A and apply the scale, and I'll press tab to go to edit mode. First of all, I'm going to do a loop cut right here in the middle. So Ctrl R to do a loop cut until the yellow line appears, and click twice to confirm the number of the loop cut and the position of it. Then I'll press 3 to go to face mode and select this face. Press X to delete, and I'll delete this face. So click on faces. Then press tab to go back to object mode. Here under your modifiers, click on add modifier, generate, and you want to add a mirror modifier. And you can see by default, it mirrors on the x-axis. So that's great. Let's just make sure that you turn clipping on. So in the middle, it won't separate. And now we can tab back into edit mode to edit this object. I'm going to press A to select everything and press S to scale it down further, and then S to scale on the X to make it nice and thin to around this size. Now let's do another loop cut. So Ctrl R to do a loop cut right here in the middle. And we can start editing the shape. So first of all, I'm going to select this edge. If you're not in edge mode, you can select edge mode here, or you can press 2 and that will take you to edge mode. Press E to extrude and pull it out to somewhere around here. E to extrude again, pull it out here. E to extrude again and again and again. And let's do a few more like that. Now select this edge and we will extrude this one as well. So E to extrude somewhere around here. E to extrude, E to extrude, and just keep extruding. We want to make this nice arch for the butterfly wing. Let's do one more. Now, so we have this shape, we can press 1 and that will take us to vertex mode so you can see the vertices. And what we'll do, we will individually shape the wing of the butterfly. So let's select this one, press G and pull it somewhere around here. And this one, G, pull it somewhere around here. And then just individually select the vertices with your mouse and press G to move them into position. I think these can come a little bit closer, even this one. So we want the bottom of the wing to be nice and rounded. So I'm just going to speed this up now. And I think I'm going to select these two vertices. So box select one and hold down shift to select the other one. Press E to extrude and then just press S to scale to make it nice and small. Then I select these two vertices, press E to extrude, pull it out like that, press S to scale, E to extrude once more like that, S to scale up this time, and then E to extrude again, and this time S to scale down like that. And now we can do the top part of the wing. So again, just pressing G and moving them into position. So the top part of the wing, want it to be nice and big and rounded. And I think what I'll do, I'll select these two, press M to merge at center, and then just carry on building the wing of the butterfly like that. These can come down a little bit. These two can come a little bit closer like that. And then box select these two, press E to extrude, extrude it out, and just press S to scale it down like that. So that's pretty much it. I think I'm just going to select these vertices and I press G to move it outwards and press S to scale it up like that. So make sure that these vertices don't overlap and just move this a little bit closer. So that looks great. That's my butterfly. Maybe this one, just press G and X and move it just a little bit closer. And now I'm going to go to face mode with 3. Select all of these faces. Maybe actually I won't select these two. So holding down shift, I can select and deselect faces. So I just select these ones and press I to inset them like this. And then I press Ctrl R to do a loop cut there. And I'll do 4 loop cuts like this. Now let's do the same here. So go back to face mode with 3, select these faces, press I to inset them like that, and then Ctrl R, and let's do 4 loop cuts like that. So that's great. Now I'm going to select this middle edge, the whole of it. When I did a loop cut, put me back straight to edge mode, so that's what I need. I hold down Alt and I select this middle edge. I just move my 3D cursor from there, so shift right click to move it out of the way. Go to side view with 3 on my numpad. I'll turn my proportional editing on. That means that whatever I do to the selected edges, I can affect the edges around it. So if I press G and just scroll upwards with my mouse until this circle of influence appears, this gray circle, I can change the size of it with the wheel of my mouse. And if I press Z now to move it downwards, it will affect the edges that are inside of the circle of influence like that. So now if I go to face mode, you can see it brought it down like that. I'm going to hold down shift and select all of these edges, these little ones, and these ones as well. Go to side view, press G and Z and just move them down, making my circle of influence just a little bit bigger like that. So that looks pretty good. And I select these edges in the middle again, holding down Alt. Turn off my circle of influence, press G and Z and pull it down a little bit like that. Now let's step back into object mode, and what we want is to add a subdivision surface modifier to this shape. So Control 3, and you can see here's my subdivision surface modifier. So Control 3 is the shortcut for that, and I just right click shade smooth, and here where the modifier is, I'll set the render level to 3. So that's great. Let's go to top view, and I want to rotate my wings. So first of all, I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis. So RX 180 to turn it around like that, and then RY 180 as well. Let's go to side view and just press RX minus 90. So now if I go to front view, this is what I'm facing with, and that's exactly what I want. Now I realize that if I tab into edit mode, my mirror flipped because I rotated this object. But that's a very easy fix. I'm going to my mirror modifier, go to this drop down menu, click on apply and apply it. And now if I go to edit mode, you can see I can edit both wings. I'm going to go to face mode, turn on X-ray and box select this half like this, press X, delete the faces, tab back into object mode, add modifier, generate mirror. And now if I tab into edit mode, this is the side that I will be able to edit. It is my preference. I like it when I'm working on the right hand side. It's absolutely up to you though, but make sure that clipping is turned on. Okay, great. Now I'm going to add a body to this butterfly. So let's place our 3D cursor back in the middle of the world. So Shift S, cursor to world origin, and that snaps your 3D cursor right back there. Press Shift A to add mesh and add the circle. In this pop-up menu, change the vertices to 16, and then you can press S to scale the circle down like that. Press G and Z and move it up to around here. Let's go to side view. Press G and Y and move it somewhere here, and we can scale it down a little bit furthermore to around here. So make sure there's a little space between the wing and the circle. Press Ctrl A to apply the scale. So now our scale is uniform. I'll minimize this window and then Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure everything is selected. If not, press A, Alt A to deselect everything and A to select it. Let's go to side view, go to vertex mode, and now press E to extrude and Z to extrude it on the Z axis and extrude it to around this size. Press S and scale it up like that. Press E to extrude again, and this time I'm not going to press Z. I sort of want it to align with this wing. Press S to scale and then G to move it like that. E to extrude again. Follow the wing and just let's make sure it doesn't go through it too much. And then E to extrude again like that. S to scale and press G to move it there. And I think I'm gonna go to X-ray mode and then just Alt click on this edge loop and Shift Alt click on this edge loop and just press G and Y and just move it a little bit so it doesn't overlap with my wing anymore at the back. And then Alt click here to select that edge loop, go back to side view and press E to extrude once more and S to scale it down like that. E to extrude again, this time S to scale it up. E to extrude again, R to rotate, and then E to extrude again, S to scale it down, press G and R to rotate. So you sort of just want to make this arch for the butterfly's body. E to extrude, S to scale, G to move it a little bit, and R to rotate it, and then E to extrude once more, R to rotate it, and S to scale it down. And to close it up, at the bottom, you just press F to fill. And I think I'm going to do a loop cut here. So Ctrl R, do a loop cut, double click to confirm it, and just S to scale it slightly like that. Let's have a look. Okay, let's tap back into object mode. Press Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier and set the render level to 3. And now I'm going to click somewhere here. So Shift right click to move your 3D cursor there. Press Shift A to add mesh cube. Press S to scale it down to around this size and Ctrl 3 to add subdivision surface modifier. Set the render level to 3 and then let's go to side view. Press G and Y and move it here, and I'm just going to press S to scale to around this size. Right click, shade smooth, Ctrl A, apply the scale. Then I'll also click shade smooth on the body as well. Let's go back to side view and I'll just click on the wings and press G and Y to move it to the body. I moved it a little bit too much. G and Y like that. And I think I'll press G and Z to move it downwards as well so it doesn't overlap with the head. Maybe just G and Y to move the head away from the wings. So that's great. And I'll click on the wings, go to front view with one of my numpad, press Tab to go to edit mode, turn on my proportional editing and turn on X-ray. And I'm going to select these vertices and box select these vertices as well. Go to side view, press G and Y and just move them backwards a little bit like that. Let's tap back to object mode. Let's have a quick look. And that looks great. Now, let's add some legs. So Shift right click somewhere around here. Actually, let's do it away from the body. So Shift right click somewhere here. Shift A to add mesh, and you want to add the cylinder. Here, change the vertices to 6. That's enough. And press S to scale it down and make it nice and small. You can scale it down a little bit more. Like that. Press period key on your numpad so it will zoom in for you. Ctrl A to apply the scale and then tab into edit mode. Turn your X-ray on, select these bottom vertices, press E to extrude Oh, my proportional editing is still on, so I'll turn it off. So press S to scale it down, G to move it, and R to rotate it. E to extrude again, R to rotate, G to move, and S to scale. And let's do one more. E to extrude, R to rotate, G to move, and S to scale it down like that. And I'll do a supporting loop here. So Ctrl R to do a loop cut, one click, and pull it up like that. So almost touching but doesn't overlap with the top loop. And then tab back into object mode, Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier, right click, shade smooth, and make sure the render level is set to 3. And now I'm going to come out of X-ray mode, press G and move it somewhere around here, and press R to rotate it. Let's go to side view. R to rotate it from side view as well, like that. Let's zoom in. And then just G and X to move it closer, and maybe rotate it from there. Go back to side view, rotate it like this. Now I'll press Shift D to duplicate it, move it down here, somewhere around here, or to rotate it a little bit. Let's just have a look. Okay, go to front view, or to rotate it from there, G and X to pull it out a little bit, and then again, Shift D to duplicate, put it here to the bottom, or to rotate it, and here we go. These are the little legs of my butterfly. Okay, so now I'm going to add a face to my butterfly. So shift right click somewhere around here, press Shift A to add mesh UV sphere, press S to scale it down to around this size, and RX90 to rotate it like this. Let's go to top view and press S to scale and Y to scale it on the Y-axis, making it nice and flat, and R to rotate it like this, and then G and Y, maybe G and X a little bit as well. And then go to side view, R to rotate it. And it's still overlapping a little bit, so R to rotate it further, and then rotate it from top view as well. So it looks like that. And I think I'm just going to press S to scale it down a little bit further. So that's great. Let's add the modifier. So go to your modifiers, add modifier, generate mirror. And for your mirror object with this eyedropper tool, you just choose the head and it will mirror it on the other side for you. Now let's click somewhere here in between the two eyes. Press Shift A to add mesh plane. Scale it down until it's very, very small, like that. Go to side view and press S to scale on the Y, make it nice and thin. And now Ctrl A to apply the scale and tab into edit mode. And I'll just move my 3D cursor from there. Press Ctrl R. With the wheel of my mouse, I'll add about 7 loop cuts like this, and then double click to confirm them. Go to edge mode with 2, select this middle edge, turn your proportional editing on, press G and Z, make sure that the circle of influence is about this big, and then just pull it down, make it a little smile like that. And you want to select these 2 edges, holding down Shift, click on them, and press G and Y and pull them backwards, and just make the circle of influence a little bit smaller, like that. And then tab back into object mode, and let's go to your modifiers, add modifier, generate, solidify. It's pretty big at the moment, but if you press Ctrl 3, that will make it smaller. So that's the subdivision surface modifier. Right click, shade smooth, and you can change the thickness here. So you can make it 0.005, and that's perfect. Let's go to side view, press G and Y and move it back, maybe even rotate it a little bit as well. And then front view, I think I'm going to press G and Z and just bring it up a little bit like that. And then the eyes, I'm going to press G and Y to bring them out just a little bit. So that's great. Now, last thing to add to the butterfly, shift right click somewhere around here, press Shift A to add, mesh, add another cylinder. The 6 vertices is perfect, so leave it like that and press S to scale it down, make it nice and small like that. Tab into edit mode, go to vertex mode and turn on X-ray. Select these top vertices, press E to extrude, S to scale, R to rotate, and G. And then E to extrude, again, R to rotate it a little bit, S to scale, again, E to extrude, R to rotate it a little bit, S to scale. Let's do it once more. This time I won't be rotating it, just scaling it. And then E to extrude again, S to scale it up. I'll switch off my proportional editing and just press G to move it a little bit closer, like that. E to extrude, and then S to scale it down, like that. And I'll do a supporting loop here. So Ctrl R and move it almost all the way up, like that. And I'll do one here as well. Ctrl R and bring it nice and close. And let's do one here as well. So Ctrl R, one click and pull it down like that. Step back into object mode, come out of X-ray mode. Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier, set the render level to 3, right click, shade smooth, and then we can press R to rotate it a little bit like that. And we can add the modifier. So add modifier, generate mirror, and for the mirror object with this eyedropper tool, choose the head. I just realized the eyes are still a bit blocky, so select them, right click, shade smooth. And now I'm going to add the mirror modifier to one of the legs as well. So add modifier, generate mirror, and I choose the body as my mirror object. Then I select these two legs, holding down shift, and the one that already has mirror modifier on it. So that's my active object. Press Ctrl L, copy modifiers. So that's it. My little butterfly is done. Now let's make the flower. In order to do the flower, first of all, I'm going to select the butterfly. So I box select everything. Press M to move to new collection. Call this collection butterfly and click on create. And I'm going to press G and just move it out of the way somewhere here. Now press Shift S and click on cursor to world origin to move your 3D cursor back into the world origin. And I'll minimize this window. Press Shift A to add, mesh, and add the plane. I'll scale it down just a little bit. So S to scale to around this size. Ctrl A to apply the scale. Let's go to top view and tab into edit mode. Press Ctrl R to do a loop cut, and with the wheel of your mouse, let's make it 7 or 9, even better, like that. And then double click to confirm the number and the position of the loop cut. Then click on proportional editing and select these two vertices. Press S, and with the wheel of your mouse, make the circle of influence bigger to around this size and scale it down like that. And then select these two and do the same. So S to scale it down like that. So you want your flower petal to be about this shape. Now turn on X-ray and select these vertices. Press G, make the circle of influence bigger. And you want to sort of move it like this. So you want this arch in the flower petal. And then let's select these vertices and press G, make the circle of influence smaller and pull it down like that. And I think these, I'm going to press G and just move it a little bit closer like that. These ones, just press G and maybe move it somewhere here. Okay, that's great. Let's go back to top view. Press Ctrl R to do a loop cut right in the middle and double click to confirm it. Let's go back to front view and press G and Z to pull it down just a little bit like that. Let's go back to top view. And I want to do 2 more loop cuts, one here. So Ctrl R and then double click, and then one here as well. Ctrl R and double click to confirm it. And what I'll do is I'll do a cut here and a cut here. So K for your knife tool, move it to this vertex, click, and then move it there, click again, and then move it here and click again. And then press enter to confirm the cut. So these cuts we just made, I will need it for the coloring. And I think I'm going to do one more loop cut here. So Ctrl R, do a loop cut here, one click, and then pull it closer to the edge like that. And do one here as well. So Ctrl R, one click, pull it closer to the edge. Make sure it doesn't overlap, and then click again. And I'll do one here as well. So Control R and then pull it closer to the edge like that. Okay, that's great. Now let's tap back into object mode and I'm going to press G and move it here. And then right click, set origin to 3D cursor. So now my 3D cursor is right there. And what I'll do, I think I'm just going to press S to scale on the Y and make it a little bit thinner like that. Even more S to scale on the Y. That's great. Let's go back to front view. And what I'll do, first of all, is I'm going to add a solidify modifier. I'll come out of X-ray mode so you can see. So add modifier, generate solidify, and then Control 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier. Right click, shade smooth, and make sure that my render level is on 3. Now just minimize my solidify modifier. And before I add another modifier, because I rescaled and moved my petal, I'm going to press Ctrl A and apply the rotation and the scale. Then go to my modifiers, add modifier, generate, and we'll use this array modifier, which is the new array modifier to blend the 5. So click on that and you can see it generated 2 more petals, but it's in a line. So you can see we have shape, which is line, and we have the count, which is 3. But what I want is to be in a circle. So from this drop down menu, click on circle, and now it's correct. And I want to maybe add 5 petals. So the count, I change it to 5. I'm just going to tap back into edit mode, press A to select all, and press S to scale on the Y to scale it down a little bit further, like that. So they don't come through each other. Maybe a little bit more. So S to scale on the Y and just scale it down like that. So that looks great. Let's go to top view and I'm just going to select these end vertices and press S to scale them down, but I'll turn off proportional editing for it. So do it like this. And that's much better. And now I'm going to go to this drop down menu in my array modifier and apply it. So now it becomes one object. And what I want is to add some like center bits. And for that, I'm going to borrow the little antenna of my butterfly, press Shift D, and I move it here. And I'm going to remove the mirror modifier from here. So here we go. Go to X-ray mode and go to front view. And I press S to scale it up a little bit and R to rotate it. Press G and move it here in the middle. Maybe S to scale on the Z a little bit more, like that. And then from top view, I press Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate, move on somewhere around here, and then Shift D to duplicate again, R to rotate, and move on here as well. So now we have this little center for the flower like that. So that's great. That's the flower pretty much done. And what I'll do, I'll just box select all of it, press M to move to new collection and call this one flower and click on create. So now that the flower is done, I think I'm just going to press 1 to go to front view. With everything selected, I'm going to just scale this flower down a little bit. So S to scale and make it a little bit smaller like that. Zoom out a little bit and box select everything, press G and X and move it out of the way. Press Shift A to add mesh and I'll add the cube and press S to scale it down to about this size. Let's have a look, maybe a little bit more, and then S to scale on the X to about this size. That's perfect. Control A to apply the scale, make it uniform, and then tab into edit mode. Now with everything selected, press Ctrl B and you want to bevel it to about this size. So you don't want it to be too much. Now let's go to edge mode with 2. Press Ctrl R to do a loop cut, and with the wheel of your mouse, let's make it 2 loop cuts and then double click to confirm the number and the position. I'll do 1 loop cut here horizontally as well. So Ctrl R and then double click to confirm it and do 1 here as well. Ctrl R, double click. Now let's go to vertex mode and press A to select all. So 1 for vertex mode and then A to select all the vertices in the object. Go to the mesh menu, transform, and click on randomize. This is a little bit too much. So from this pop-up menu, you can change the amount to 0.02. So you can see it randomized your vertices a little bit. So it looks a little random. And then I'll tap back into object mode, go back to front view, press Shift D to duplicate this brick, X, and move it next to it like that. Press RX 90 to rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis, and then tab into edit mode with this new brick. Holding down Alt, I'll click on one of these edges, press X and click on dissolve edges, and that will dissolve those edges for me. Then go to X-ray mode and select all of these vertices, press G and X and bring it closer like that, and then A to select all and G and X to move it next to the other brick. Let's tap back into object mode, and because the origin point slided as we moved in edit mode, let's right click set origin to geometry, and that will snap it back right in the middle. I'll come out of X-ray mode and I'll press Shift D to duplicate, X to move it next to it, and then just RX 90 to rotate it on the x-axis. So now we have 3 bricks. I'll duplicate this one once more. So Shift D to duplicate, move it on the x and put it here, and then press RX 90 so it doesn't look the same as this one. Maybe I'll duplicate this one once more. So Shift D, press X and put it here, and that's enough, I think, for our stone wall. It won't be really visible anyway, so it doesn't need to be big. Now I'm going to select all of it, press Shift D to duplicate, Z to move it on the Z axis, and I put it on top of these like that, and I'll just zoom in just to see if there's any gaps. There are little ones, but that's fine. And now I'm going to press S to scale these down just a little bit, then G and Z to move it a little bit closer, holding down Shift for smaller increments because I don't really want to move it too much like that. And then I press RX 90 so they don't look the same, and maybe just press G on this one. Select this one, press G and X and move it here, and then just grab this one and put it there like that. G, X to move this one closer. That's great. Now let's select these again. Actually, let's select all of them. Let's zoom in a little bit. Shift D to duplicate, and then Z to move it up like that. Let's have a look. We can bring it down a little bit, G, Z, and then hold down Shift for smaller increments and pull it down slightly. And then we can press R, X, 180, like that. This one, I think I'm going to bring it a little bit closer, and maybe I'll do the same as I did before. So I'll press G and move this one, G, X on this one and move it here. Maybe move this one as well, and then the long one, I'll put it next to that one just to make it a little bit more random, and then just put these back where they were like that. This one I might just press S to scale on the Z to make it a little bit taller, and this one as well like that. And then I think maybe this one, I scale it up on the Y a little bit. So S to scale, Y, and then just make it slightly bigger so it hangs out a little bit. This one as well, S to scale on the Y, hold down Shift for smaller increments. Maybe this one as well, S to scale on the Y, and a few more random ones. This one maybe just a little bit more. Maybe this one as well. So that looks really good. And I'm just going to have a quick look. This brick is a little bit too far from that one. So I just press G and X, and holding down Shift, I'll move it with smaller increments. This one as well, G and X. And I think I'm going to just box select these bricks, press Shift D to duplicate Z, and just move it onto the top like this. And maybe scale it down on the X a little bit as well. And this one as well as to scale on the X just to make it a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to box select all of my bricks, press G and move it somewhere here around the middle. Press M to move to new collection, call it bricks or stones, it's up to you, and then click on create. Now I could add the floor, just a plane to have a floor, but we will be zooming in onto the wall. So for me, it's not necessary. So I'm not going to add a floor for this tutorial. Now let's box select the flower, press G and move it somewhere around here. And I'll move my 3D cursor to the bottom. So shift right click there. It's pretty much in the middle, so that's perfect. Let's zoom in onto the flower. Press Shift A to add mesh, and you want to add a cylinder. Change the vertices to 5 and then press S to scale it down nice and small. Let's go to top view and zoom in. And what you want is for the faces of the cylinder to be directed towards the petals. So R to rotate and rotate it like this. And then just press G so they are roughly in the middle like that. I'll click my 3D cursor away so you can see it properly. So you see these little corners are where the petals are separating and the face is where the petals are going to. And that's what we need. Now let's go to front view, press G and Z and just bring it down to here. So it barely touches the flower. S to scale and then press Shift Z and make it even thinner like that. And then Control A to apply rotation and scale. Now let's tab into edit mode and turn on X-ray. 3 to go to face mode and you want to select this face. Press E to extrude and S to scale. Scale it outwards a little bit like that. And then E to extrude again and pull it upwards just a little bit, so like that. Let's just go to front view and have a look. Now zoom in a little bit more. Go to face mode if you're not in face mode with 3. Alt click on one of these edges and now it's selected the face loop for you. Alt E and then you want to click on extrude individual faces and just pull it outwards like this. Let's go to front view, press G and Z, move it up. You don't really want it to overlap with the flower too much. And then go here to the transform pivot point and set it to individual origins and press S to scale it down. Then Alt E again, extrude individual faces, extrude it outwards like this. G and Z to move it up like that. And then just press S to scale. And I'll come out of X-ray mode just to have a look. I think that looks pretty good. Still in face mode, I'll select this face. It's overlapping a little bit, but that's okay, we'll fix it in a minute. I'll zoom out a little bit and press E to extrude it out. Press G just to move it a little bit, S to scale it up just a little bit, and R to rotate it. And then E to extrude once more, R to rotate, press G, E to extrude, R to rotate, S to scale just a little bit, E to extrude, R to rotate, and then E to extrude again, press G and R to rotate and S to scale it up. So I want it to be something like this shape for the stem. Press Ctrl R and do a loop cut here. Click once and then pull it down there just to add the supporting loop. And I think do one here as well. So Ctrl R, click once and pull it up there. Now let's tab into object mode. Press Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier and set the render level to 3. Let's go to front view and just press G and Z and move it down a little bit like that. And then right click, shade smooth. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and I think this stem might be just a little bit too long. So I'll tap back into edit mode, go to X-ray mode, select this one and press GG to move it up. Select this one, press GG to move it up. This one as well, GG, like that. Maybe rotate this one and press G on it. And then Alt click on the supporting loop, press GG and pull it up here. R to rotate it and press G to move it somewhere here. And then select these ones on the bottom and press G and move it very close to this one and press R to rotate it like that. So that's much better, I think. Another thing I'm going to do is in object mode. So tap back into object mode. Move my 3D cursor to the end of the stem. So right there. Let's have a look. From side view, which is numpad 3 as well, and then top view numpad 7. So that's exactly where I want it to be. And then right click, set origin to 3D cursor. So when I rotate it, it will rotate from that point, from the end of my flower. Okay, so that's great. Now, shift right click somewhere here, press shift A to add, mesh, and you want to add the plane. Press S to scale it down to around this size. Control A to apply the scale, and then we can tab into edit mode. Stay in X-ray mode so you can see what's going on. Press Control R and do about 7 or 9 loop cuts like that. Double click to confirm the position and the number of loop cuts. Go to vertex mode with 1, and then let's select these 4 vertices and press S to scale on the Y, make them nice and thin like that. And then select these 2 vertices, turn on proportional editing, press S to scale and scale it down. And you can also make the circle of influence a little bit bigger as you go. So this should be all right. And then select these 2 vertices, press S to scale it down, make it nice and small, and make the circle of influence bigger, because with the leaf we want it to be thinner than the flower petals. And then click. I'll switch off my proportional editing, and with those 2 vertices still selected, I press G and X just to pull it out a little bit, and then S to scale them down like that. So that's great. Let's do another loop cut here in the middle. Control R, and I'm going to make 3 loop cuts with the wheel of my mouse like that. Double click to confirm it. Go to edge mode, and I'm going to alt click on this one and press GG to slide it towards the middle like that. Let's zoom in a little bit, and then alt click on one of these edges to select the whole edge loop, GG, and move it closer to the middle like that. Now alt click on this middle loop cut. Let's go to front view. Turn proportional editing back on. Press G, make the circle of influence smaller. Press Z, and then pull it down a little bit like that. And then just select this one edge, and from front view again G and Z, and just pull it down to add a little bit of a shape to this leaf. And then we can alt click on one of these edges in the end. Go to front view G and Z, make the circle of influence just a little bit smaller and move it somewhere around there. And then we can also switch off proportional editing and press G and just make this a little bit bigger like that. And let's do a loop cut here, and maybe just press G and move it like that. So that looks pretty good. Let's tap back into object mode, turn off X-ray, go to your modifiers, add modifier, generate, solidify, and then Control 3 to add a subdivision surface modifier and set the render level to 3. Now, let's go to top view, and I'll just move this leaf a little bit. So the end of the leaf is where my 3D cursor is. And then I'll place my 3D cursor here. So shift right click to move your 3D cursor there. Right click, set origin to 3D cursor. Also right click and shade smooth. And now I'm going to press G and move my leaf somewhere around here. Let's go to top view. Shift D to duplicate it, and R to rotate it around like that. And then Shift D to duplicate again, R to rotate it around, and again Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate. Let's do one more. Let's go to side view and then press R to rotate it and move it up like that. This one, R to rotate, move it up, and this one as well. And then from front view, we can do these as well like that. So that looks pretty good. Now let's select these leaves. M to move to collection, and you want to select the flower collection. Now everything here is added to the flower collection. So now all we need to do is to put this scene together and add some colors. So I'll select all of my flower, go to top view and press G and move it somewhere around here. Let's go to front view and zoom in. I think I want to put it here to this gap. So press G, move it here. Let's go to side view, press G and Y and move it here. Let's go to the transform pivot point, set it back to medium point, and then press R to rotate it like that. Maybe a little bit more, and then G to bring it out. And this leaf, I press R, Z, and bring it out so it doesn't overlap. Go to my flower collection in the outliner, right click on it and select objects, and just press G and Y to move it closer. Let's have a look so it doesn't overlap. I'll select the flower collection again, go to side view and press, actually, I think I'm going to rotate it from front view like this, and then press G and Z to bring it down like that. And that looks pretty good, I'd say. Let's go back to top view. Let's grab our butterfly, press G, and let's move it here. From front view, G and Z, and then I think S to scale to make the butterfly a little bit bigger. And then R to rotate it somewhere here. Press G to move it closer. Let's go to side view, and then I'll press R to rotate it from here as well. And that looks pretty good. So I'm quite happy with this setup. If I go to my camera view with this camera icon and lock it with this one, I can actually set my camera up. So when I go to color it, it's already set to the right position. I think I'm quite happy with this position, so that's great. And then we can go to the shading workspace. This will take you to the shading workspace, and I'll just maximize my viewport. So join these two areas, and with the crosshair, click, move up and join these two areas as well. Let's zoom in. Actually, let's go to front view. So this is your shader editor. This is where we'll be adding the colors. And this is obviously the 3D viewport with your scene. Now, before we start, I'm going to click on the rendered view. Right now, obviously, it's pretty dark because we don't have any lights set up. Here in the rendered properties, if you stay in the Eevee render engine, then make sure that you turn on ray tracing, which imitates real light and shadows, but I am going to use cycles and I'm going to turn my GPU on. I click on denoise and set the time limit to 2 seconds. So the denoising is so much faster because now you can see when I move my mouse, it's quite noisy and we don't want to wait for it too much. Now, the first thing that we'll set up is a background. So from this drop-down menu where it says object, click on it and you want to select the world. Here you will have a background node and a world output node, and we'll add an environment texture. So Shift A to add texture, environment texture, and just pop it here. Now if you plug it in, it will turn pink. Obviously, that's not what we want. So we need to get an HDRI image. For that, you can go to polyhaven.com and choose an HDRI, whatever you want in the background. So I have chosen this Dreckenstein Cori because this one doesn't have too strong shadows and it doesn't have too vivid colors either. There are some similar ones down in the bottom. I encourage you to try out a couple. This one, for example, I wouldn't choose because the shadows are really strong there. So you want something that's quite subtle. And then you just go here. I usually download a 2K resolution, but it's up to you. And then just click on download and download it to your chosen folder. I'll minimize this window, and here you click on open and find your downloaded HDRI. You can see I have tried a couple. I'm going to go with this one. And now when you click on open, you can see there's the HDRI in the background. So that's great. It's not going to be visible. We just need the light and the shadows from it. So let's go back to the object tab and let's color our objects. So first of all, I'm going to select one of the bricks. Come here and edit a new material, call it brick. And on the principled BSDF, you want to click on the base color and choose a color for it. Now it's absolutely up to you what color you use. I chose this sort of almost yellowish, very bright color. Maybe just make it a little bit darker like that. And then here I pulled up the roughness all the way to 1. Now from my outliner, I'll find my bricks folder, right click, select objects, and you want to make sure that the one you colored, that's your active object. So you can't really see it, but that's the one that has a yellow outline. And then press Ctrl L, link materials. So now all of the stones have that color. I think I might just make it even darker like that. That looks much better. Okay, great. Now let's select the stem of the flower. Let's edit a new material and choose a green color. I went with this one, but I think I'm going to pull down the saturation a little bit. It's a little too much. And maybe just make it a little bit darker. And then pull up the roughness all the way for a cartoony look. Then let's select all of the leaves. I think that's all. And then lastly, click on the stem that's already colored and then Ctrl L, link materials. So that looks great. Now let's select one of these center pieces, which we have 3 of. Edit a new material. Let's call it center. And for that, I went with a very saturated yellow color. Let's pull up the saturation all the way. And for the roughness, let's pull it up all the way. And I'm trying to find where they are. There should be 3 of them. I can't see the last. Oh, here we go. So select these 2 holding down Shift and then the colored one last. Ctrl L, link materials. And I think I'm going to go to top view for a second. And with all 3 selected, I just press G and Y and just move it closer to the flower like that. So that's great. Now let's click on the petals. Edit a new material, call it petal orange. And for the petal orange, let's add the base color. And this is the color I went with. So it's nice and orange color, quite saturated. And I'll pull up the roughness to about 0.8-ish. But I don't just want one color for my flower. So I'll come to the slot. With the plus sign, I'll add the new slot. And for slot 2, I'll add the new material called Petal Pink. Edit a base color. And for that, I didn't actually choose a pink color. I chose like a very light orange color. But again, it's absolutely up to you which one you want to choose. And pull up the roughness to about 0.8. Now here in the 3D viewport, you want to tab into edit mode and 3 to go to face mode. And holding down Shift, you want to select the ones that we cut with the knife tool. So these triangles, and then Shift Alt on these edges under. So it will select this whole loop for you. Do it on all of them. And now go to the slot, click on Petal Pink and assign it. So you can go back to object mode and you can see we colored the inside bit to this color. But I want to add one more color. So go to the slot, add the new slot, slot 3, edit a new material, call it Petal Red. And for Petal Red, I added a darker reddish color like that. Pull up the roughness to 0.8-ish and then tab into edit mode. Alt click on one of these edges between 2 faces and then Shift Alt click to select all of them on all of the flowers like that. Go to your slot, choose the Petal Red and assign it. And that's it. That's my flower colored. Now let's click on the body of the butterfly, call it body. And for the base color, I went with a really dark blue color or indigo rather. Pull up the roughness. And then what you want to do is select all of the legs, the antenna, the head, and then the body last. So that's your active object. Press Ctrl L, link materials. So that's great. Now let's do the mouth. Super easy. Edit a new material, call it mouth. And for the mouth, I'll just made it a little bit gray like that and pulled up the roughness all the way. Now let's click on the eyes, edit a new material, call it eye black. And for the base color, let's edit an almost black, very dark gray color like that, and pull up the roughness all the way. I'm going to zoom in, go to my slot, add the new slot, and edit a new material, call it I white. Leave it on white and pull down the roughness to about 0.2-ish. On my numpad, I'll press the slash key so it's isolated, and I'll press tab. And what I'll do is I'll go to the back and I'll press Alt A to deselect everything, press C for circle select, and just click on all of those faces, and then click away with right click. And now I'll press Ctrl and the plus sign on my numpad to add to my selection. And let's add 2 more. And then holding down Shift, I'm going to also select these 4 faces. And then go to my slot, select the I white and assign it. And then here I can go back to object mode and press my slash key to come out of isolation mode. Now the last thing to color is the wings. So select it, edit a new material. Again, it's up to you what color you want. I went with this very saturated turquoise bluish color. I might bring down the saturation just a little bit and then pull up the roughness all the way. And now I'll edit a new slot. Oh, first let's edit a name, wing turquoise. And now edit a new slot, call it wing blue. Here, tab into edit mode. And for the base color, I went with this blue color and I pulled up the roughness. And what I've done is still in face mode, alt clicked here and shift alt click here, and then do the same here and here. So I wanted to select those stripes like that. It selected some bits that I don't actually want to be selected, but that's okay. We will fix it with the next slot. Go to your slot and assign it. And then you can tab back into object mode just to check it out. I mean, it already looks pretty good, but I want to add one more color. So go to your slot, add the new slot, call it wing dark blue. And for this one, I'll add a very dark blue color and pulled up the roughness all the way. Tab back into edit mode and I'll isolate my object. I'll box select all of these faces and then Alt Shift to click there, one of these between edges to select the whole face loop. Shift click on these as well, and then Alt Shift on that one as well. And then go to your slot, wing dark blue, make sure it's selected and assign it. And then you can come out of isolation mode with the slash key and tab into object mode. So that looks pretty good, I think. And then we can go back to the layout workspace. Before I do that though, I think I'm just going to change the color of these bricks. So click on one of them, go to the base color, and I think I'm gonna go towards the blues because I just think that color maybe just looks better, and just make them a little bit darker like that. And now let's go to the layout workspace. I'm going to turn on my rendered view. Press 0 to come out of the camera view. And I can already see that now that we colored the bricks and we are in rendered view, there are some gaps. And also there are these stripes, and they are there because we didn't add a subdivision surface modifier. So what I'm going to do is click on a brick or just stay on this one, press Ctrl 2 and add the subdivision surface modifier. Now it's not that blocky anymore, but that's okay. We can even go down to a 1 level subdivision surface modifier, but then change the render level to 1 as well. And then what I'll do is here, find my bricks folder, select all the objects and make sure this one is the active object so you can see the object origin and the outline is yellow. Press Ctrl L, copy modifiers. Now it looks so much better, but because of the subdivision surface modifier, they shrunk a little bit. So again, I'm going to right click on my bricks folder and select the objects. Press the slash key to isolate them. And starting here, I move them closer. So G and X to move this one closer to that one. And then this one, G and X. And then this one. Maybe that one is a little bit too much, but that's okay. I quite like it that way anyway. So make sure they are touching, there is no gap. And then here, G and Z, move it down. Let's move all of them down, G and Z, and then just move them closer until there is no gap between the bricks. If there is a little bit, that's fine, like those, but you don't want it to be like these ones. So I'm just going to go through all of them. I'll speed up this footage. Okay, so that looks much better. And I'll press my slash key to come out of isolation mode. There are still some gaps, but that's okay. Let's go back to camera view. And I might just change it a little bit. Okay, that's great. Now we want to add some light to our scene. And first of all, for that, I'm going to change the contrast. So go to your render properties, scroll down to the color management. I'll leave it on AGX, but you can also choose Filmic or standard. My preference is AGX, and then I usually set the contrast to punchy. So this is pretty much my favorite one. And I'm going to press 7 on my numpad to go to top view, and I might just rotate this butterfly. Let's select all of it and press R to rotate it just a little bit like that. Let's go back to front view, camera view, and I like this one. Okay, so let's go to top view, and what I'll do is shift right click to move my 3D cursor here, press shift A to add light, and I'll add an area light. Let's go to side view, and I'll minimize this window. Press R to rotate it, and then G and Z to move it here. Let's go to top view and R to rotate it, and you want to rotate it towards the butterfly. Let's go back to the camera view and go down to this light bulb icon, and you want to set the color towards the yellows, but not too much. And for the power, at the moment is on 10 watts and it's not really strong. So let's try 50 maybe. That's a little bit too much. So I'll set it to 30. That's much better. And I might just change the spread to 90 degrees and bring it down to 15. And that looks pretty good. We can also scale this light up a little bit so it's not that strong, not that sharp. And then we want to go back to top view. Press Shift D to duplicate this light and move it here, and press R to rotate it, and then go back to camera view. And for this light, you want to add a subtle bluish color, something like this, and just bring down the strength to around 7. I think that should be okay. And for that, I'll change it back to 180 degrees and scale it down just a little bit. I think for this light, I'll go back to that for a second and just add a little bit more yellow to it. So this is the color code. So it kind of looks like there's a sunlight coming from the front. Now let's go back to top view. Grab either of the lights, press Shift D to duplicate it, and you want to put it behind the butterfly. Press R to rotate it, G to move it somewhere here. Maybe just G and Y because we don't want it to go behind the wall or into the wall. For this light, I went with a bluish color, but maybe just check out a couple of different colors. I think I might just go with a darker purplish color like that. This one, I change the spread back to 90 and I pull up the strength to around 35. So there's this nice purple outline around the butterfly. And before we render our final image, this is the time if you want to make any changes. I think I'm going to go to my butterfly folder, right click and select it, and then just press R to rotate it, and maybe just G to move it down a little bit like that. Click away so I can see. And maybe I'm going to go back to the shading workspace for a second and change these bricks back to something towards the yellows. Maybe even make it lighter. Now that I have the light set up, I can see it better. Not sure. Maybe something like this. It looks good. Let's go back to the layout workspace and have a look. And maybe that looks a little bit better. And now all we need to do is go up here to the render tab. You can also press F12 and then just click on render image. And that's it. That's my image rendered out. And to save it, you go to the image tab, save, call it final render, and just save as image. And it's all done. So that's it for this tutorial. If you found it useful and you followed along, I'd just like to ask you again to click like and subscribe to help grow my channel. And I will see you in the next tutorial.